Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of The Experience. I'm your host, Steve Fox, with a very important question to ask all of you watching at home. Has this ever happened to you?
Get the hell out of here! Get back in there! Travis! Hell is that?
If you know anyone who has experienced something similar to that, then you don't want to go anywhere and you want to sit by your TV and watch. We've got a great, very informative show for you this evening. I have two representatives here from MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. Joined to my right is Joe Nyman. He is the section director of Norfolk County.
Norfolk County.
And to his right is Jules Valancourt. He's the section director of Worcester County. Right. Joe, I'll talk a little bit about Joe first. He's been actively researching UFOs since late 1960s. How did you start doing that? Like, what perked your interest?
Well, my interest really was aroused years before that, Steve, when there were sightings reported in all the newspapers. I guess it was in the 1940s.
So around Roswell.
Right around the time of Roswell. The nature of the reports was such to make it indicate that something really unusual was happening in our skies that had nothing to do with the technology on Earth. I really didn't have any time to get involved until the late 1960s, when the material I read became so bizarre that I decided to look into the situation myself to find out what was going on.
And Jules, what about you? How did you start?
I basically did the same thing. I was interested in the same strain, and also I did some research on my own, and then I joined some organizations. And the first one was the APRO, which is out of Tucson, and stayed with them for a while. And then the NICAP, which is the National Investigating Committee on Aerial Phenomena, and joined the Massachusetts subcommittee. That was an international organization. And we left as a group for the whole state and went with the Mutual UFO Network, which we've been with ever since. That was in the 60s.
Okay, and what you do for Worcester County is, as far as in your capacity, what's your primary?
We investigate cases. People contact us or through the hotline, and we investigate cases, or we assign as section directors, trainees working with us to help us along in the cases. There's a lot to it. We've got a lot of paperwork. There's a form for each type of case, depending. We have Form 1 and 2 for general cases, going all the way up to, 13, 14?
Yes. Lots of paperwork.
Depending on the type of case, entity case, landing trace case, radar case, all the various
It's a lot less fun than you might expect, Steve.
I don't know. It's fun. Now, you're currently living out in, you're not really very local, and Joe is out in Ashburnham. You work out of?
Jules is out.
Jules is out in Ashburnham.
Right.
So you're pretty local to the rest of us here. I just want to remind our viewers that we are broadcasting live. The number, if you've got a question or comment, or if you'd like to report your own UFO sighting or experience, you can give us a call, 343-3130. They'll be here the whole hour to answer any questions that you might have. Let's go back to Joe for a second. We're talking about the research that you've begun, or that you've, I guess, have been continuing for quite some years now, is finding out who have claimed to have. You don't like the term abductions. We've been talking beforehand.
That's right. Should we tell the audience exactly why I don't like the term abduction?
Sure, we could do that.
Okay. Abduction has the connotation of being taken unawares on a random basis, and really without having any inkling that anything is going to happen to you. And my research shows just the opposite, that people have these experiences their entire life. They have some inkling that an experience is about to happen because of a buildup of anxiety. Something in their consciousness is telling them something is about to happen.
Now, and there's conscious or subconscious that.
Well, and they're subconscious, if you want to call it. It's not a conscious kind of thing, except that they feel very antsy or anxious for no apparent reason. And then when the experience is over, in most cases, they feel free and clear. They've gone. I can get back to a normal life. And this is a lifelong kind of experience. There are some people, as Jules pointed out previously, there are some people who claim that I am all wet on this, that indeed science fiction aliens from outer space are coming to Earth and grabbing people at random for rude medical experiments. And the first thing I have to ask these kind of people is, why haven't I been abducted? I mean, in the work I've done with people who have UFO encounter experiences, I've been told many times that aliens are in the room, they know what I'm doing, although they're invisible to me. They're going to be waiting for me when I get home. And then I'll drive home late at night over deserted roads, and yet nothing has ever happened to me, nothing at all. Why aren't they interested in me?
So the specific people.
Exactly. There are selected individuals, and it's a lifelong experience, and the word abduction really does not apply.
Have you come about any reason why they maintain the same? I mean, is it kind of like is it like medical experiments as some would claim, or is it more or less?
No, it's not. Well, it may have some of those aspects, but there's a different aspect to it that's so bizarre that I'm reluctant to even mention it on this program. But suffice it to say that the individuals who are going through this experience feel a very deep connection with the beings with whom they're interacting. And this connection is really the basis for the selection process. Now, beyond that, I don't want to get into any more detail, because if somebody comes to us for investigation, then I don't want to prejudice his or her situation by kind of spilling the beans.
Okay, so it's not necessarily complete strangers, but just the feeling that it's a connection that, for whatever purpose, needs to constantly be updated.
I'd also like to add that we're a non-profit organization. We don't get paid for this.
Right.
And the cases are kept confidential unless the people do want to go public. But we do respect that if they, there are many cases where that don't go public, and secrecy is maintained.
Now, in any given year, roughly how many cases do, say, MUFON, Massachusetts, get calls on?
We haven't had a flap year. A flap year is a year in which there are dozens and dozens of sightings, and there are so many sightings that the newspapers report them on a constant basis. We have been in a very quiet period here in Massachusetts for many years now. We have the occasional sighting that reaches us by roundabout means. It seems like newspapers, except for the local papers, have stopped reporting these. I haven't seen a UFO sighting in the Boston Globe for at least 10 years.